Good morning, everyone. It's Michelle. Happy Tuesday. Yes, it's Tuesday. I always have to think. So anyway, today's video, I thought I would start giving a little more information as to what I've been doing on this personal growth journey that I am on. I have had, comments on the videos about changes that people have noticed, and I've let you all know from day one that I took some time to work on me, and I'm still a work in process. I am in no way some feel-good guru now, not even close, but enough changes have occurred in my life to this point that I feel like I'm ready to start sharing what I've been doing. And with the changes that I've been working on, like, I'll start by going in slow and what I worked on first. And I'll only do like one change per video. I could probably make a 8 to 24 hour video. Who knows how long I could talk. I could probably talk a while. With everything that I've been working on in my life, and everything from little changes to big changes and decisions that I have made and we have made as a couple. But I can't do that all in one sitting. It's too overwhelming. Just like I had to start making the changes a little bit at a time in my own life, that's how I'm going to come across with the videos. But I noticed that there is a ripple effect. So just by starting with one change, it ripples. It ripples. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like when you throw a stone in the water and you see the ripples going out. One change can just have a ripple effect on other areas of your life that you weren't even working on, and you're like, well, hey, where did that come from? And this is awesome. So the first thing that I had to start working on is becoming aware of the little voice inside me. And we all have that little voice. And the little voice, I don't know if you want to call it your conscience, if you want to call it your spiritual guide, if you want to call it your guardian angel, if you want, however you want to label it. I'm just going to say it's my little inner voice at this point. And that inner voice, can be good and it can be really bad, really bad. And I'm not going to go into all the good, but some of the bad things that this little inner voice is doing is it bullies us. It's a big bully. That little inner voice can be just a big bully. Like, how you had that kid in high school that was just a big bully, and you didn't want to be around them, and you didn't like them, and you tried to avoid them? That's kind of what your inner voice can do to you. So then you want to withdraw from that and not listen to it, and just shove it down under the surface so that you don't have to hear it. But we need to be aware of that inner voice, I think, and what it's doing to us personally. One of the biggest things I think it does is it's always telling us we're not good enough. I know I've struggled with that. It's like when everything is not going wonderful in your life, you come back to the thought, well, why? Is it because I'm not good enough? Why didn't I get the promotion at work? Or why didn't I even get the job to begin with? I wasn't good enough. And that's just one example. Why didn't that guy call me back after I thought we had great dates? I guess I'm not good enough. Just everything that you question can come back to that that statement of I'm not good enough. And that is so, just so hard. Well, I don't, what's the word I want? See, I told you, I struggle for words. I can't be a writer. It's detrimental, obviously, but I want a harsher word than that. I mean, it can be devastating to you as a person, that constantly telling yourself that I'm not good enough, or questioning if you're good enough. If you think about when we're born, we're babies. You look at a baby now, what do you think? Oh, it's perfect. That baby is perfect. Not a care in the world. As long as you give it everything it needs to keep it healthy, it's a perfect little human being. A perfect little creature. But then the baby starts to grow, we start to grow, and life just throws stuff at us, which is normal. You know, life's not gonna be rainbows and unicorns, nor would I want it to be. It's kind of weird. Anyway, life's always gonna throw stuff in your path. For example, I'm gonna equate this more to my personal life, but I'm sure there are a lot of things that life has thrown at me that has happened to some of you as well. So, all right, my parents got divorced when I was 4. So that was a curveball that life threw at me as a child. I didn't get to grow up in a house with my mom and my dad. It just didn't work out that way. At age 4, was I saying, oh, it's because of me? Was it because of me? Is it because I wasn't a good enough child? Probably not at age 4. But as I got older and I became acquainted with more friends at school and in the neighborhood, and they're living with their parents, then you start to question, well, why aren't mine together, and did it have something to do with me? And then you hit puberty, and God knows the I'm not good enough feelings they just come from everywhere, just because hormones do that to us. Then you start to approach the point in your life in school where grades are going to matter, because then you're going to be hit with graduation, and you have to think, oh dear, I'm going to be an adult. Am I going to live in my parents' basement forever? Or do I have a plan? Am I going to be a woman who just gets married and becomes a stay-at-home wife and stay-at-home mom? And I shouldn't have used the word just. That's not good, because being a stay-at-home wife and a stay-at-home mom is a career in itself. So is that the path I'm going to take? Or am I going to be a little more independent for a while and go off and have a career of my own? But is that career going to be something that I need a college education for, or is my high school diploma going to be sufficient? So then you're questioning, oh my gosh, are my grades good enough for what my future holds? Then we get into the whole relationship phase. You know, you start the dating process. And if you're lucky enough to find true love the first time around, oh, hallelujah. That's just wonderful. But most people aren't. So then you question, oh my God. And that didn't happen for me. And here I said I was going to make this personal based on me, and here I am running off as a third person again talking. So yes, okay, back to me. Parents got divorced at a young age. Puberty hit. And I was not a happy person. I was not a happy person. I can't say that there was one instance that really made me depressed, but my mom said I had just a switch overnight. Just all of a sudden, I had come home from a weekend with my dad, because he had visitation every other weekend. And I was probably, I think she said around 10, 11 years old. I had come home from a weekend with my dad, and I all of a sudden was different. I didn't want to kiss them goodnight anymore. I didn't want anyone to hug me. It's like I didn't want anyone near me or touching me. And I kind of shut out the world at that point, and I became a teenager that never left a room. Don't get me wrong, I was still an extrovert when it came to my friends and school. I was, chatty Cathy in school. I had tons of friends. I was involved in a ton of activities. But when it came to my family, I all of a sudden shut everybody out. To this day, I have no reason that I can come up with as to why I did that. But we've always questioned that. Did something happen to me that weekend that I've completely blocked out and I have no recollection of as an adult? To go off on a side note, that particular weekend I had spent not with my dad, but with my aunt, his sister, and my cousin, who was like 3 years older than me. And I spent the weekend at their place. And I just remember strange things about the house, strange house rules. For example, the bedroom doors were never allowed to be closed. The bathroom doors were never allowed to be closed. I didn't think nothing of it as like an 11-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid. I just, that's weird, whatever. Well, we come to find out several years later, when my cousin finally got of age, she did reveal that my uncle had been molesting her entire life. So, yeah, a little bit of family history that's not on the positive side. But anyway, did something happen with me that weekend? Did I see something that weekend? I don't know. I'm sure at this point the only way to figure that out is if I would go to a psychiatrist and maybe they would do some hypnotic therapy or something. I'm not willing to do that. I'm just not. But I'm saying all that to say, was there an experience that I had in my past that all of a sudden caused me the pain that I just shut out the world? And I made decisions later on in my life as I got to be an adult that I now question as to why did you do that? I have been laid off from a job, which not as bad as being fired, but still painful. Like, okay, you laid off, you had to pick one person to lay off because of trying to trim the budget a little bit, and why did you choose me? So then I take it personally. Is it because I wasn't good enough? So all the circumstances of your past, they end up they come at you and make you feel worthless. And there was a statement that I read that just kind of was like mind-blowing. Before I tell you the statement, have you ever heard the expression, not really expression, but people say that the experiences you go through in life and the circumstances that you come upon make you who you are? I've heard people say, I am today because of what I had to go through back then. It's made me a stronger person because I had to, find food on the street because I couldn't afford it. And I'm sure we've all heard that. But I read a statement that is completely counterintuitive to that way of thinking. And the statement is, you are not your circumstances, your experience, or your past. Let me read it again. You are not your circumstances, your experience, or your past. Those things that have happened to you are not who you are. They are just what they say they are. They're just circumstances. They're just experiences. They're not you. They are an opportunity for you to grow. So when a person says, I am who I am today because of, as long as they have used that negative experience to grow as a person, then that's great, but it doesn't make them who they are. I've had to become aware of that inner voice. I'm trying to come full circle with this. I've had to become aware of that inner voice that would well up in me and cause me to think about negative things in my past. I've had to become aware of it. And when those past stories come to the surface, I've had to learn to let them go. An exercise that I had done that was kind of symbolic, because sometimes people need a hands-on. They can't just take it in up here. You need a hands-on, and that is what I did. I wrote down some experiences in my life. One of them was my parents' divorce. One of them was getting laid off. One of them was Mike and I lost our home in a short sale when the real estate market crashed, because we had home equity loans for all these big home improvements. This was house number 3 of buying it, flipping it, and reselling. And we lost our house when the real estate market crashed because we owed too much for the home improvements, and it was no longer worth what we even paid for it, let alone the improvements. So again, that was one of the things that I wrote down, our financial devastation that we are still trying to recover from, because that takes, when you short sale a house, you might as well have been a foreclosure as far as your credit rating goes. So I had to write that down. Mike and I haven't always had a perfect marriage. There was one point in time where we separated. It wasn't long, nobody physically moved out, but we separated and stayed in different parts of the house. So I wrote that down. And once I wrote down all my different experiences, I'm sure there were more than that, but at this point it's like I'm having trouble remembering them because I've gotten rid of them. I wrote them all down on a piece of paper. I read them all out loud. And then I took that piece of paper and I tore it up into teeny little pieces and threw it in the garbage. And it was almost like the weight was lifted. I've let go of those things. They're meaningless. They're not who I am as a person. They haven't defined me, which just that one example of taking your negative circumstances and experiences from your past and tearing them up and letting them go, just that one thing has then caused a ripple effect, because I now can say, that's not who I am. I am not that person. Their circumstances did not make me who I am today. I am me. I am just Michelle. I can now look at myself in the mirror and say to the person that I'm looking at in the mirror, you're not that person. You're you. You're awesome. You're amazing. Those things don't define you. Let them go. Which, again, if I keep talking and keep talking, then I'm going to run into, what I had to work on next, which was that person in the mirror. So I'm going to kind of end it there, and just, if you want to come along on this journey with me, I would say that's a good starting point. Just sit and contemplate the things in your past that you think have defined you that were not good, and write them down. Just write them down, every little thing. Even if it takes you days to think of them all, just write them all down. Read them out loud to yourself, and then take that piece of paper and throw it away or burn it. And then every time that inner voice wants to bring up something, tell the inner voice to shut up and let the thought go. Don't even rehash the story in your mind. The stories, they still want to pop up, especially when it comes to my parents and the fact that I've had no relationship with my dad most of my life, but yet I still try. So that's an ongoing work with him. But because I've let go of a lot, there's no more pain. When I call and he doesn't return my phone calls, or I know he keeps his health problems secret from me, he always has, and I have to find out from one of his friends that, oh, he's been in the hospital, or oh, he's going in the hospital. Now, when those circumstances arrive, it doesn't hurt me anymore. I've accepted that It's not me. It's not my fault. It's not because I'm not good enough. It's his choosing to not associate with me. But that does not affect my self-worth. So, and that's just one example. But I'm saying that to say every time, even though I've let go of things in my past, there's still constant reminders of certain things just because they involve other people that are still in my life. But I don't let the stories pop up and stay. They pop up and I say, see ya, hit the road. So yeah, that's where I'm going to end today's little tidbit. Again, with that sentence that has been something that I repeat over and over. You are not your circumstances, your experience, or your past. So I hope this has been helpful, and yeah, I'll see you in a future video. You know that, because I'm not going anywhere. Have a great day. Bye.